Well, welcome everyone. We're so excited that you're all here, and I have the distinct pleasure to just kick this whole thing off. It's been a long time coming, and it's so exciting, truly a day to celebrate. I have to say that on so many levels, you've made magic. And just a quick review. You made the Goodwin's vision and love of our area come true. The hard work and efforts of so many volunteers on both committees, and we'll name you in a minute, are ensuring that Dick and Esther's intent and vision would be carried out forever. And the incredible work of the staff that you'll hear from now, and the board leaders who've guided us to this point is truly a real reason to celebrate. And Thayer mentioned that we have lots of people who wanted to be here, but they couldn't. So we only know good people who do good things. Most of you are here, so that's why we're recording, so you can share what's going on in a minute. I have the pleasure of making sure that you know all the key players who are here. You see in front of you, and I'll name a few. But I will start with, if you don't mind, the Community Foundation of Middlesex County. We have our board chair, John Baccalat, board members, Laura Colbank, Maureen Westbrook, and Gary Wallace. And we have our stewardship committee people from near and far, Sue Merrow from Maine, Bob Kirkpatrick, Patty Bassia, and Tony Irving. So thank you for being here. And if I miss anyone on the Nature Conservancy of Connecticut's list, please forgive me. But Frogard, we're so happy you're here with us today. Of course, the one and only Marie Orsini Rosen, and I'll get back to two staff members from the Community Foundation in a minute, Dr. Alex Navarro, Dave Gumbart, Glenn Dreyer, Linda Schroeder, Dave Bingham, and Steve Gephardt. And did I miss anyone? Robert Askins, Alex Armstrong, and somebody on the phone, and that we're happy to have you here. None of this on our part could have happened without the leadership of Thayer on this committee, of the stewardship committee, and then of course the one and only Jennifer, who keeps us on the straight and narrow in the office. So without further ado, I'm going to just tell you the program that will happen. We're going to talk about the Burnham Brook Vision Plan. Thayer and Marie will lead us on that. The Vision Plan rollout going forward, Alex Navarro will lead us on that. The invitation, Dave Gumbart's going to have a few key words, always. And then the partnership, Frogard, we're so happy that you're going to be able to talk about that. And also that Marie will bring some words from your board chair, John Pritchard. And then John Baccalat will ask you to close out with what comes next. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Marie and to Thayer.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, Marie.
Thanks, everyone. So I have a dream. When we hear those iconic words, we hear the voice of a doctor, Dr. Martin Luther King. But today, I at least hear the voice of another doctor, Dr. Richard Goodwin. Dr. Goodwin, as we all know, was a visionary in the true sense of the word, and David Bingham has been instrumental in making sure Dr. Goodwin is alive in my life. He saw things before everyone else did, and he even saw things that other people never even saw. And I hear over and over again in my head, over these past 10 years working on this pilot project, and it's been that long, I hear words that some of you told me Dr. Goodwin said, when the time is right, when the time is right, Burnham Brook would be more than protected. It would become a showcase for conservation and an inspiration for future conservationists. What a vision. And what would it take to make that vision a reality? For the Nature Conservancy, well, we actually have Dr. Goodwin's foresight actually on this to guide us. He said it would take two things. It would take conservation and education. The role of the Nature Conservancy in Connecticut is that conservation. It's the stewardship, but most importantly, it's the convening Convening the right partners for this pilot project is essential to its success. And for the Nature Conservancy in Connecticut, the right partner was the Community Foundation of Middlesex County. To the foundation board, and particularly to you, John, for giving us such a hearing over time on this, we thank you. To Cynthia and Thayer, your experience, your guidance, your commitment, your leadership, and your boldness, can't thank you enough. And to both of our volunteer committees, you are the true believers. You held our feet to the fire all these years. We can't thank you enough. So Dr. Goodwin said when the time was right, it would all come together. So Thayer, today's the day.
Yes, yes, it is. And to reiterate what Marie said, this has been a remarkable journey for all of us, both on the committees and within our organizations, staff, and boards. This has been a true vision of partnership. And the interesting thing, as we all know about partnership, is that partnerships and collaborations, while the vision might be there, never occur overnight. They take time, they take strategic conversations, and most importantly, they take trust. And I personally, Marie and I were comparing notes. I personally have been with the Community Foundation for 12 years. So I have been involved in this process for 12 years. Marie has been with TNC in this process for 10. So we're almost neck and neck in watching the trust build, the communication build, the thoughtfulness build in not only what Burnham Brook is and what was being protected, but potentially how we could, to borrow a phrase that Cynthia always uses and we love here at the Community Foundation, thinking about how to connect the dots for an even greater vision. So thank you to everyone for really having the wherewithal to look forward and to think strategically and outside the box, and particularly for both committees for encouraging everyone to think strategically, to think forward, and to ensure that everyone could bring in the thoughts of collaboration, recognizing that we each have our own missions. We need to be true to those, but part of those missions are collaboration and looking for new partners that bring added pieces to this. This pilot project is very exciting because not only does it fulfill the stewardship, preservation, and conservation mission of the Nature Conservancy, but it offers opportunities to connect dots with partners that do the education, that bring new insights, that bring new pieces to the puzzle, and it does definitely put Burnham Brook Preserve as a cornerstone and foundation piece in this area that we all love, live in, and want to take care of, and want to ensure future generations have an opportunity to participate and to get to know. And what's more important as part of the strategic conversation was to look for partners that maybe weren't the obvious ones. And I'm going to borrow Marie's term here because we've been talking about this a lot, which is equitable conservation and education. And it's ensuring access to all people, regardless of their abilities, their approaches, their place in life, to be able to understand the essential cornerstone that this preserve has in our region, as well as what Dick really wanted was a two-pronged approach, which was access education as well as conservation. So I have to say, round of applause to both committees. Thank you so much for your commitment, your passion, and most importantly, your time, because being a volunteer means that you are committing a great deal of time and thought to something that you care deeply about. You took a risk, you asked what a collaborative would look like, what would it take to try it, what would it include, and it culminated in the Nature Conservancy developing this incredible pilot project that Alex and Dave are going to share with us, that includes what everyone is best at. And it all culminates in Dick's vision becoming the pilot project and a reality. So thank you to the committees for your time and your thoughtfulness. Thank you to TNC's staff, board, and leadership as well as the Burnham Brook Preserve Committee for being great risk takers and to ask the questions and to really think outside the box with us. To our committee, thank you so much for continuing to meet and to think and to help drive the different questions we were interested in. To all of you, you are a group of dreamers and doers.
Thanks.
Alex, oh, go ahead.
And
No,
there, I just want to welcome our board member, Judy Schoonmaker. We're so happy you could make it, Judy. Thank you for joining us. So Marie, go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to introduce my wonderful colleague, Dr. Alex Navarro, who is our Director of Stewardship and Ecological Management. And I want to put a human face on this scientist. I don't want him arrested at midnight on Burnham Brook Preserve. He has already led people on some of our preserves on a salamander hunt late at night. Bogart, I'm looking at you because you've gone. He is a salamander expert, and as well as the person who's leading us forward on this incredible vision. Alex?
I second that. I was just about the salamanders. I've been on 2 night hikes with him, and as most of you know, I'm an early bird, not really a night person, but it was the 2 best days of my year for sure, except I didn't have the right footwear, but I'm going to change that before the next time. He told me I was fine with normal hiking boots, but that was not true if you really wanted to see stuff. So anyways, Alex.
What an introduction, Alex.
You always got to get the salamanders in there. Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you. It's nice to see a few familiar faces, but also meet many of you who I've heard so much about and haven't yet had a chance to meet. So like Marie said, I'm Alex. I'm the Director of Stewardship and Ecological Management for the Connecticut chapter of the Nature Conservancy. I started this position in August, so I've almost been here for a full year, but like I like to say, my work is very seasonal, right? Like so each season brings a whole new suite of challenges and opportunities. So I feel like I'm just in year 1 again, starting out with the spring and all that comes with the ramping up of field work. So once we get to August, I can officially say I have a solid understanding of what's going on. But I've been with the Conservancy for about 3 years. So I was with the New York division prior to moving here. I've really loved Connecticut. One of my favorite things is the abundance of wildlife, including some large or more exciting mammals that I didn't get to see when I grew up and lived on Long Island. So I'm still very excited by bobcats and porcupines and black bears. So I really love this place. It's already very special to me, and I'm still learning a lot about all the state has to offer. I'd really like to start out by thanking everybody on this call for being here today. More importantly, for your ongoing commitment to conservation at large, our communities, and of course, the Burnham Brook project and vision. So I appreciate your willingness to join forces to achieve Dr. Goodwin's vision. The work we are celebrating today is made possible through the generous support of the Community Foundation of Middlesex County, all of its wonderful board members and leaders, and of course, Dick and Esther Goodwin, who recognized the value of this special place and fought hard to protect it, not just for themselves, but recognizing that this place really was important to all people and the nature that we all depend on. So thank you all for making this possible. So I just want to give you a little overview of really like what my team's broader vision is, and I hope to show you how this project is just really well aligned with what we're doing at a larger scale. So my team oversees a portfolio of 58 nature preserves and over 100 conservation easements across the state. And of course, we're part of the Nature Conservancy, which is a global organization. So we have similar initiatives and lands protection and management practices across the country and across the globe. I take the responsibility of land management very seriously. With such a massive and diverse lands portfolio that we're overseeing, we've really been asking the questions, how do we manage these lands so they can maintain resiliency in the face of climate change? And perhaps more importantly, who are we managing them for? So during the pandemic, the number of visitors to trails and outdoor spaces skyrocketed. More and more people have come to realize how critical nature and green spaces are to our mental health, our physical health, and society at large. Unfortunately, many of our neighbors and community members, particularly those from marginalized communities, still don't have appropriate or adequate access to outdoor education or recreational opportunities. While we remain committed to ecological management, we've got another really big job to do. We want to ensure that we're managing the lands across Connecticut in a way that's welcoming, safe, and inspiring for everybody. This means building relationships and trust with new partners, new communities that we haven't worked with in the past, acknowledging inequities that are built into the system and the traditional model of conservation, and reshaping our policies and practices so that equity and environmental justice are at the core of what we do, and importantly, how we do it. The Burnham Brook Project is a step towards this ultimate vision. When you ask people how they become interested in conservation, it almost always starts with a single place or a single experience, a place or experience that drew them in and left them in awe. One individual reaching out and showing them something new, something inspiring. A place or a person that made them feel welcomed and connected and really brought them back to their roots and connected them with their most human desire to understand the natural world around them and how they fit into the bigger picture. Dr. Goodwin's vision for Burnham Brook Preserve was just that, a place that could be showcased to attract new generations of conservationists. He and his wife Esther created Burnham Brook Preserve with the initial donation of 46 acres to the Nature Conservancy in 1960. And since then, it's grown to include about 1,100 acres of forests, fields, and streams protecting the watersheds of Burnham Brook, Strong Brook, and the 8 Mile River. The areas here, they're really important to conservation in the region, and they have the capacity to serve as a refuge and corridor for plants and animals as they start to migrate or adapt to our changing climate and the many other pressures that they're under. Even before we had all these kind of fancy climate models to tell us these things, Dick and Esther recognized this. They knew without the math that, per se, that this was going to be an important stronghold for nature and for people. So we really acknowledge and recognize that foresight and their persistence in protecting this place. So you might be asking, what are we doing to make this vision come true? Hopefully you've seen some of the announcements and have a sense of that, but we're going to share a little bit more with you today. Your support has launched a pilot project where we're laying the foundation to build a more diverse and creative coalition of conservation organizations and supporters, focused not just on Burnham Brook, but the entire 8 Mile River watershed. So Burnham Brook is kind of going to be like the home base, the site of where we're going to have a shared conservation office, where partner organizations can have the chance to work side by side, sharing ideas, learning from each other, building off of each other, but while being, centered in nature. They're going to be in this beautiful place, which in and of itself inspires greater ideas, collaboration, and gives an opportunity to bring in communities and new partners. So we'll host field trips, volunteer opportunities, community building events, bringing people closer to this place and giving them that chance to have their first or a new experience that really brings them closer to nature and accentuates just how important conservation is today and into the future. We'll continue to steward the land, focusing on climate resilience and increasing accessibility. This is a starting point, and we have a lot to learn. And we're going to be learning from each other and from new partners. We'll probably, we'll have a lot of successes. We'll have some failures. We'll learn from those failures. It's all really an exciting new path that we're joining efforts together and moving forward on. So we hope to lean on many of you for your ideas, your insight, your engagement. And I'm very much looking forward to what comes next and what we all learn from each other and from our new friends and partners. So thank you. And I'll pass it to Dave, I think, to speak to a little bit more of the specifics of what's going on.
Thank you, Alex. Well, I'm glad to see everyone here this morning. I appreciate everybody's interest and dedication to Burnham Brook and to conservation in general, it's inspiring to see so many people who have helped lead the Community Foundation, the Nature Conservancy, and to be personally inspiring to many of us here. I will say that I'm sorry my colleague Martha Rice can't join us this morning. As Marie said, she's not feeling well, but she is our volunteer coordinator for the chapter. Martha has the longest tenure of working for the Conservancy in Connecticut. This is be the start of her 33rd year. And only recently, I'll say, the last maybe 3 or 4 years, she took on the volunteer coordinator position. And of course, unfortunately, that really did coincide with the COVID pandemic. So it was hurry up and wait for a while. But now that we're perhaps coming out of it, she's been able to work with a number of individuals we've had as volunteers in the past, and we'll be recruiting and working with new folks and new groups. So we look forward to having her ongoing involvement. And so I'm just going to run through some photos here this morning, showing a little bit of our volunteer activity, and then a few shots of the home of Dick and Esther Goodwin, which is now the home of our Nature Conservancy office, with a few partners as well. So I will do a share screen here. So I can get that going. All right, hopefully everybody can see that photograph. So early in April, we had a work party, and it was to do some work right around the Goodwin home, the Nature Conservancy office. As any conservation area has across the state, there are invasive species. And while we don't expect we'll eradicate them fully on any of those preserves, we did want to improve the conditions around the house itself. And I don't know if everybody's been to this house. It's fantastic, and I'll talk a little bit later about a time where we can all get out there and meet and spend time together. But built in 1968, it's a contemporary design, took advantage of passive solar on a fairly steep hillside. And so here we have multiflora rose, there's vine honeysuckle, some euonymus, and a few other choice species. And so we wanted to try and clear that up as best as we could. So that's what it looked like before we started. A few folks on that steep hillside. And once we were complete, and thanks to David Bingham, we were able to get some straw down and help keep the soil stabilized. What we'll do here is we'll continue to remove invasives slowly, whether it be over the course of a month, a year or more, and look to see what natives are coming up so we can encourage good plant habitat behind the office. A few other volunteers getting rid of some significant honeysuckle at this spot. This is right by the house, and just a nice one Martha took of the small group that was out. And in addition to focusing on getting volunteer activity out at Burnham Brook, we have talked about the broader 8-mile watershed. We expect to engage people at different preserves and even on down the lower Connecticut River from time to time. And so also in April, we were fortunate enough to have some volunteers and partners from Audubon, Connecticut, to help us set up our Griswold Point Preserve in advance of piping plovers and least terns arriving for their breeding season. And this is a wonderful spot. We've had ownership since 1975. And since we are talking about partnerships, this is just another great example where multiple groups working together can get a lot more done than any single group and or individual. And so here we have the Goodwin House, our new Nature Conservancy office. This was a photo taken probably 5 or 6 years ago, shortly after. We've done some renovations after taking full ownership. And as of yesterday, here's what it looks like out in front of the house. A lovely hedge of lilacs, and those are beautiful. They smell great. And it's just a treat to be out on such a nice sunny day. And then right outside the front door, the Eastern or red columbine. I think that must have been one of Dick's favorites. That plant is on the preserve. And I don't know if these were here naturally or whether some seed was collected and spread. But as a botanist, I know Dick cherished this plant, and it's just nice to see that return year after year. Here are a few shots of the office itself. It has a basement floor, the lower floor, but it opens out with a couple of sliding doors right outside. This is a larger room that the 8 Mile River Wild and Scenic Coordinating Committee will be using. They signed a lease a month ago and have begun to move in and make use of the space. For those who don't know, the 8 Mile River is a designated wild and scenic river, and that's a program of the National Park Service. And I know some of you on the call are involved in the 8 Mile group. We are excited to work more closely with all of you. Here's a little bit of a sideways view, it appears. I should have straightened that out, but this is where the office will be. And as of yesterday, the desks are in place and they have a lovely view outside, and they'll enjoy watching the leaves come out, birds singing, and who knows what critters will be running by. Actually, last fall, I was driving down Dolby Hill Road to the preserve, and a very large and fast bobcat ran across the road. So this is a place that will provide a home for, and already has provided a home for, a great diversity of plants and animals. Here's the first floor as part of our shared space with our other groups. In addition to the 8 Mile River Wild and Scenic Coordinating Committee, we expect we'll also have a lease signed shortly with the East Haddam Land Trust. So working together with conservation organizations will be beneficial. And as we've talked about, we want to expand the number of groups and people we're involved in. So it is our hope that we'll be able to share this space maybe long-term with additional parties making use of it, but also invite those groups to use the preserve, have the house as a resource. And for those who did know Dick and Esther, what I think I need to buy for this particular spot with the kitchen table is a small Lazy Susan. So we can sit around the table, share some food, and because Dick and Esther were very generous with that. And their Lazy Susan would have a collection of condiments and some items for lunch. And what's wonderful about this as an office location is it's inspiring. The physical space is great. And we look forward to having everyone come out to visit. We've got some used but relatively comfortable furniture in the living room area. What you don't see is off to the left, the extraordinary windows. I don't know if they're 15 feet tall or what, but it really brings in the sun and is very unique. And up on the third floor, it's a loft and it's open to that living space. But here's the Nature Conservancy work area, and just sitting at that desk looking back the other way, that's what you see. So it's a wonderful spot. We're very grateful to Dick and Esther for their vision. And so as we talk about the new things we'll be doing, rest assured we will continue to be actively involved in the land management and outreach that we've always been involved in. So that's it briefly. I guess I'll just leave it with the fact that we are going to seek a date, and we'll work with both the Community Foundation and Nature Conservancy committees to find a time that will accommodate the most people. And whether or not we have a formal meeting at that time or just a nice walk around the preserve and its fields, we want to welcome you out. We look forward to welcoming a lot of people and a lot of groups out in the coming years. So I guess I'll leave it at that and hand it back to Thayer or Marie.
Thanks.
But we look forward to seeing you soon at the site.
Thanks so much, Dave. And there's a standing invitation, and we'll follow up with all of you. And I'm actually going to turn it over to our state director, Dr. Frogard Ryan, who has another commitment. And then our board chair, John Pritchard, asked me to read a statement from him. So Frogard, I wonder if you're ready to say something?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Marie, and thanks everyone. This is just this is extraordinary to be here and hear from all of you and see your faces. And I can't wait to have our next meeting at Burnham Brook. What a very special place. And I'm sending greetings today. I'm at my home in my backyard next to my beehives under a giant maple tree, and so you'll hear the birds singing, and you might hear loud screeching, which is my parrot inside the house. I apologize. He likes to be part of it all. So it's just a wonderful time of year to celebrate and to come together. And Burnham Brook is a special place for me, and not just because of the vision that Dick and Esther brought with them, and you can feel it when you are there. And not only because it's a wonderful natural place, but also because it was one of the very first projects that I began working on when I started here about 10 years ago. And it has been quite the journey that we all have been together on. And many of you have shared so eloquently what that was like. And I feel what you said and what Marie said is so right. Change takes thought, it takes time, and it takes trust. And those are the gifts that we have been giving each other and will continue to give each other. And that really brings progress and change over time. And I think that Dick and Esther were catalysts for tomorrow, and they were bridge builders. And now I see a whole screen full of Zoom pictures, and hopefully we'll see each other in person before too long. I feel you are the catalyst for tomorrow now, and you are the bridge builders. And I am very excited by that. And I have full trust that our journey will take both of our organization's priorities into the future, and that it also will address something that is really important to me, and I know to all of you, and that is make equitable conservation come to life. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you for that leap of faith as the Nature Conservancy in Connecticut. I'd like to thank the foundation board, the foundation, and especially our wonderful partners, President Cynthia Clegg and Vice President Thea Talbot. It would have not happened without the leadership and passion of the two of you. I know that. Marie tells me everything. Each call she has with you, we chat afterwards. So I know, and I am grateful. And of course, to both organizations, Burnham Brook committees, I also know that your work was instrumental, and I appreciate the time and effort that you have put in over these many years. And then above all, my thanks goes to my team. Not only Alex Navarro, our new leader at the chapter, whom we're very thrilled about, but also Dave, Martha, and Marie. And then two people who aren't here today and often in the background, but nevertheless very important. And that is our Director of Conservation Programs, Shelley Green, and our Director of Finance and Operations, Ann Brzezinski. And all of you and all of them have put their hearts and souls into reimagining all that Burnham Brook can be. And what a thrill that is. So again, my thanks. You are my catalyst for tomorrow, and bridge builders, bridge spanners, and the work begins. So here we go. And I hand it back to you, Marie, with a huge thanks to everyone.
Thanks, Frogard. And I love what you said about everybody on this screen has put their heart and soul into this. We have. I have a statement from our board chair, but I'm wondering, Cynthia and Thayer, to save time, would you like me to put it in the chat, or shall I read it?
Oh, please read it, Marie, please.
I'm just a show of hands. I know a few of you know our board chair, John Pritchard. I just wondered who knows him here. Yeah, Tony, of course. Great. And Frogard and Glenn. He wears many hats. One is as our board chair at the Connecticut chapter of the Nature Conservancy. Some of you know him as the president of the Lyme Land Conservation Trust. As we said earlier, convening partnerships. Nobody does this alone. And John couldn't be here, but he asked me to read a statement. He said he knows there are going to be a lot of faces out there that he knows. And he wanted to say that we've all been on a journey together to make Dick Goodwin's Burnham Brook dream a reality. What does it take to make that happen? A lot, from what he sees in Connecticut. Most of all, it takes partnerships and trust, and in this case, a very deep love of the land. And I'm looking at one of my mentors, David Bingham. We've talked about that so much. And actually, Thayer, I've been here close to 12 years. I was brought into this 10 years ago, though. Thank God. John wanted to make sure that John Bocalat, the foundation board, and the foundation staff, that this breakthrough pilot program sets land conservation on a new course. Dick and Esther Goodwin made sure that Burnham Brook was protected. The foundation's leadership on the vision plan makes sure that Burnham Brook makes sure that all that Burnham Brook has to teach about conservation will now be accessible to more people and more communities. And you've heard that theme throughout from really everyone involved in this. We are deeply committed to making sure that our beautiful preserves, which took such a prominent role during COVID, who even looked at these lands that we had protected as having the healing power of nature until COVID made sure we saw that. And the more people and the more communities that learn the conservation lessons Burnham Brook can teach, the more beautiful the world around us will be forever sustainable. And John closes by saying, thank you all for this very big teachable moment for me and for our partnership together.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Marie, and thank John for that statement on all our behalfs. And thank you all. It's very nice to meet you and see some new faces and some folks that I've met before in earlier meetings. I came in at the tail end of this. I of all the people on the screen, I have very little responsibility for this, but I will say that Marie said, we gave you a good hearing. Well, we were eager. Let's face it. We've been hearing on our side of this, all of the work that's gone into this. So proud of what our Goodwin's Stewardship Committee has done over the years and how they've interacted so well with TNC and certainly with our staff and the things that our staff has done here is really extraordinary. It seems almost too obvious to note that spring is a very nice analogy for what's happening here. There's a lot of preparation. There's a lot of planting. There's nourishment, some of which comes in the form of money from us. There's work to be done. There's tending to be done. But in the end, what we're doing is we're getting really, really excited and passionate about the idea of watching this grow. And I think that's really what we want to see here. We want to see it grow into all the things that have been described here by Alex and Dave and Dr. Ryan and others. You all know way better than I do and much more than I do. I haven't even visited yet, and I really look forward to the opportunity to do that. But when we see this grow and we hear those words, equitable conservation, we hear accessibility, we hear education, we hear inclusiveness, that's what we're all about on our side. And the opportunity to team up with someone like TNC in order to make that happen is really, really gratifying for all of us. And I want to point out that as much pride as we have in the work that's been done by our board, by our committees and by our staff, I'm particularly proud that our board was so eager to pick up the mantle and to approve a multi-year grant to make this pilot project happen. And so the other thing that's growing and that we can see well into the future is the growth of this partnership. And I don't just mean this specific partnership between TNC and CFMC. I mean, what someone else referred to as the idea that this becomes a model. This becomes a way for our organization, certainly, to see the opportunities that are available when you partner with somebody that you trust, when you partner with somebody who has that understanding of how you put boots on the ground to show philanthropy in action, when you partner with somebody who's as eager and passionate as you folks are, and on our side for our board to recognize that so readily, to really appreciate the level of effort that's been put in for all these years. And I'm going to call out there again, she's on our side. She's just been remarkable as far as I'm concerned in terms of her level of detail and diligence and all of this. Thank you for that. And so when we look at all that, we say, now it's time to see what happens. And so the topic here at the end is what happens next. Well, that's what happens next. We all sit down and we put a lot more faith and trust in this partnership and all this effort and the financial investment, and we watch it grow. And we're going to watch it grow together. And I know everybody here is as excited as I am, and if not more so. And it's been a long time coming. A lot of people, and I've never met the good ones, but everything I've heard from our side and today is that from the very beginning, they had this intention, they had this dream, they had this vision, and this is the way to implement it. And so we're very proud to be a part of this. So thank you, and thank you for attending here today. Cynthia, is there anything else we need to do?
Gosh, no, but just to say, I hope everybody on this screen, and then when the recording goes out, takes a moment to pause and reflect on what's happened over all of these years. I mean, if you think about it, you've incorporated a donor's vision and intent. You've really made magic. You've provided enhanced opportunities that we don't even know about for new people to come in and explore and enjoy Burnham Brook. And you're going to have a major impact on the expansion and inclusion of so many people we don't even know yet. And that opportunity to create and nurture new partnerships, I think that's pretty magical. So I thank you all for what you've done. And Dave, we're all going to work together on getting that date that's mutually agreeable to the most of the people here so that we can come out and really celebrate. And Alex, I'm going to ask you that you make sure you give us the right ideas about the proper footwear to wear when we come to Burnham Brook and can explore. So a round of applause for Marie and Thayer, and for all of everybody on the committee for your commitment and for making magic happen. So thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you this summer.